Thank you, honorable members. Good afternoon. This is a standing committee meeting on agriculture, economic development and tourism. As a way of introduction, my name is Noko Masipa. I am the chairperson on the Standing Committee on Agriculture, Economic Development and Tourism. With me is Sharin Nikerk, who is the procedural officer for the Standing Committee on Agriculture, Economic Development and Tourism. I will just now allow members to introduce themselves, starting with Honorable Brinkes.
Thank you very much.
Put your mic on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good afternoon to everybody again. My name is Khalil Brinkes, member of this committee. Thank you.
Dave Bryant, member of the committee.
Good afternoon, Chair, colleagues. My name is Noel Constable, a member of this committee.
Afternoon, Chairperson. My name is Nomi Ngondlo, member of the committee.
Thank you, Honorable Ngondlo. Members online.
Good morning or good afternoon, sorry, Chairperson. Derek Wessels, member of the committee.
Thank you, Honorable Vessel. I just want to check, are there any apologies, Sharin?
None received, Chairperson.
None received so far. Thank you very much. In terms of the agenda, colleagues, is before you. So the item, obviously, we're done with item number 1 and number 2, consideration and adoption of draft committee 1 minutes of 15, 28, 29. November 2024. The next will be, obviously, we'll look at the report on oversight visit to Elsenbeck, which took place on the 5th November 2024. Then we had another oversight visit to Atlantis, a special economic zone, and Freeport Saldanha Industrial Development Zone, which took place on the 28th and the 29th of January 2025. And the quarterly report of October to December 2024. We also have the tracking documents as at 4 March 2025. Lastly, then we have got the discussion on draft committee program or business plan for 2025-2026 financial year, and finally the resolution and general and closing. Are there any matters that you might feel that is necessary to discuss? Honorable members, going once, going twice, no additional matter to be discussed. So, honorable members, I think first let's just go through the minutes of the 15th of November. I take it that the minutes have been read. Any matters arising maybe from the minutes? Do I have any proposal to adopt the minutes? Honorable Bryant. Seconder, Honorable Constable. Thank you very much. The next minutes will be of the 28th November 2024. I take it that the minutes have been read. The minutes pertain to the Standing Committee on Agriculture, Economic Development and Tourism. We were looking at, it was a visual proceeding, which the departments came and to brief us. Do I have any proposal for the minutes? You weren't there. Honorable Constable, you were present. Thank you for proposing to adopt the minutes. Any seconder? Were you here, Honorable Brinkes? Yes, you were here. Thank you. The minutes of the 29th November 2024. This was pertaining to vote 11. Any matters arising? No matters arising. I take it that the members are familiar with the minutes. Any proposal for the adoption of the minutes? Honorable Constable propose. Seconder. Honorable Ngondlo second the minutes. So we also have the report that pertains to our oversight visit to Elsenbeck on the 5th of November. Page 1 discuss the introduction, why oversight is important, and provide the overview, the findings and observation. Page 2 touch on critical issues like the CASP, which we had a resolution on, and also the Pecheron horses, which became a center of interest for members. Also, the Agricultural Training Institute on page 3, and the Agri-Processing Hub, where members really engaged with those that are involved in the processing of their produce. And obviously, we had resolution. The committee resolved that it will engage the National Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development to consider changing the conditional grant allocation in terms of CASP funding from Schedule 5 to Schedule 4. I must also just inform honorable members that we did write a letter to the Minister of Agriculture to alert him of the concerns that have been raised by the Department of Agriculture in the Western Cape regarding this particular matter. So are there any matters arising, or can we accept the report?
Propose.
Honorable Brand, propose. Any seconder? Seconder, going once, going twice. Honorable Brinkes, thank you very much. The next report pertains the oversight visits to Atlantis Special Economic Zone and Freeport Saldanha Industrial Development Zone. Where's the report? Yeah. We undertook a visit to Atlantis Special Economic Zone on the 28th, and then we slept over in Saldanha. As you will recall, the first page deals with the introduction in terms of the constitutional mandates for provincial legislature, in terms of our work, and obviously touch on the overview of Atlantis Special Economic Zone. And the second page talks to the presentation that we received from Atlantic Special Economic Zone. Page 3, we visited Everflow, that company that we learned about their work, what they are doing and so forth, which is a high-tech company. And then we made some resolutions, and some of them include undertaking a follow-up visit to the economic zone, invite obviously the economic zone to brief developments in the zone. I think is it zone 3 or zone, because I think it's supposed to provide the zone number. What was the zone? If that can be checked, just to make sure that we name it correctly. And also, Honorable Constable did make a special plea that we get a brief with regards to how the special economic zones are considered for, especially with regards to the Karoo area, the key steps in terms of putting those special economic zone. So those were the resolutions from the visit to Atlantis Economic Zone. The Freeport Saldanha Industrial Development Zone, we were given an overview and a presentation, which included obviously the IDC, which was there, and the port there. And we did take a tour of the precinct, page 6. Page 7, we did visit the small, micro, medium enterprise. And obviously, we visited the Chemical Industries Education and Training Authority, CHITA. So, colleagues, the resolutions coming from the visit of the Saldanha, we recommended to the provincial minister to really consider ensuring that the cheetah program continue, but also interministerial collaboration and engagement to prioritize and expedite the possibility to strengthen the working relationship between the port and the Saldanha port. The economic zone, the development zone. And further, there were obviously, as I mentioned, cheetah. We did write a letter to the minister to really seriously consider ensuring that he keeps the cheetah, continuing doing their work. However, we received a report back recently which indicated that the minister is engaged with CETA to ensure that the program continues at that very area without really having to affect negatively those that are involved in the program. Yeah, so basically that's the report before honorable members. Can I take that we accept the report? Any mover for the adoption of the report? Any mover? Honorable Bryant, thank you very much. Any seconder? Honorable Ngondlo, second the report. Honorable members, now we come to the quarterly report. The report of October to December 2024. Again, page 1 talks to the mandate of this committee, and the page 2 talks to the committee, obviously, that we conduct oversight in terms of the department and entities. We've got 2 departments and 4 entities. Page 3 obviously talks to the engagements that we have had. The first one, obviously, the attendance. We had 8 MPs, coming to the meeting and 4 staff members attending, and 2 public and 33 attendance official overall. So we had 3 resolutions there. The 29th of October, we had 1 resolution and 1 request, and then we had 6 attendance. So overall, we had our meetings having lots of attendance. So the 15th November, we had also, another meeting. We had only 1 request for information. And then we looked at the business plan on the 15th, resolutions and actions. Page 6 talks to the 28th November meeting, where a report were considered. We had 9 MPs attending and total 29 officials coming to the meeting. Page 7 is the meeting that took place on the 29th. We had about 8 attendants and 9 officials attending the meeting. So that's it. So the next page 8 obviously cover, members' attendance register for your perusal. If there are obviously corrections that you deem necessary, please do indicate so that the report can reflect correctly. So the page 9, a meeting postponed. We had obviously the 19th and the 20th of November, which we planned to go to Saldanha and Atlantis Special Economic Zone, which we couldn't. We postponed it, and we ultimately ensured that it happened in January. And then we had oversight, which was to the Department of Agriculture and the Training Institute, as well as Equine Farm. The invitation to chairperson or delegation of a committee, we were invited to Western Cape Prestige Agri Awards. Those who could attend made to the committee. So in terms of number 16, Western Cape Adjustment Appropriation Bill, vote 11, so we did that quite well. And then annual reports obviously continues, 28 October. And then budget, honorable members, before you is that we had a budget of 186,000. Adjusted budget came to 92,000. We did query this adjusted budget because we were a bit concerned that we are reducing, the budget lower. But we were told that we shouldn't really be worried about the budget because some of the committees like finance and so forth are not going to use their budget. So we should be able to tap into their budget. So that's really the report before you, honorable members. Is the report accepted? Any proposer? Honorable Professor Mbombo proposed that we adopt the report. Seconder, Honorable Brand. Thank you very much. So we're done with the quarterly report. So, honorable members, I think the most important really part of this meeting is really to look at our business plan. As you would also note in your business plan on page, I don't know, it doesn't have a page number, but in terms of the business plan, it talks about the program of Standing Committee on Agriculture, Economic Development and Tourism program is mostly influenced by committee resolutions, current affairs and matters that directly impact on the agricultural sector and provincial economy. So, honorable members, we've got so many resolutions. I thought it was really very important that we sit and we discuss and we prioritize. What is that we really need to do going forward? The business plan has kind of taken the tracker. Where's the tracker?
Thank you.
Yeah. So you have got with you the what do you call the tracking document. So the tracking document obviously document all the resolutions that we've made after every meeting. So the idea of having this business plan is really transferring the issues that are not resolved. Always is a live document, so these documents get updated regularly in finding gaps to address the issues that have been raised, the resolution that have been made. So the reason why I felt it is very important us to meet in person was really to discuss the committee's program going forward. Colleagues, you would understand that we've got the ports issues, which is a challenge right now. And we've got the CASP that I did indicate that the Department of Agriculture keeps on really hammering this aspect that, the Schedule 5 does not work for the province. And the truth is that we are here to represent our farmers, and we definitely need to listen to what the issues are. AGOA is one of the issues that has been in the media for a while, and I think it's a duty of this particular committee to protect our farmers, to protect our farm workers and all those people that are involved in this agriculture. And obviously, not only farmers are affected by AGOA, as well as other industries, that are affected by AGOA, that are exporting and are benefiting from AGOA. We've got issues of crime, extortions, that we have been really highlighting, especially in township, those matters, and rural economy, which we have been highlighting. And I really forgot to really allow our Bongiwe researcher to introduce herself. Can I just allow you for 2 minutes just to introduce yourself? Just that long CV, just cut it short.
Good afternoon, Chairperson and members. My name is Awongiwe Timkulu. I'm sitting up on the 6th floor, just behind the chamber. I'm part of the research unit. I do know some familiar faces from the committee, but in terms of what my role is, it's basically to support the committee with research support of any kind, whether it's requests or broader the annual reports work that is done cyclically. Yeah.
Her CV is too long, so I had to ask her to make it short. So, I just got reminded when I talked about rural economy. She did put a report together with regards to the study tour. So she will, at the appropriate time, just come before the committee and share with us. And the other issue, obviously, that I often get is the trunker issue. I know that Honorable Ngondlo might have dealt with it in the previous term, but I think it's an important matter that we definitely cannot just leave it without really giving it a priority. The other issue, obviously, is that are often spoken about is the blended market, the donor market, for our rural economy, because ours is really to just make sure that we find legislation or pieces of legislation that can really afford this market an opportunity, to exist in the rural areas. And obviously, in my colleagues' portfolio committee, when we were in Beaufort West, we've learned how people are really struggling to pay their rates and taxes. So, but without really stimulating the economy, they will not be able to. So I think it is our duty, honorable members, to look at that. Lastly, the special economic zone. So those for me are really the current issues for us really to look at. So I'm just gonna really try and go through the business plan. And honorable members, once I'm done, so we can discuss in terms of what is our priority in terms of going forward with our business plan. So if you go to page 1, 2, 3, is it number 3? Yeah, number 3. Yeah, then you will find that the tentative date for in terms of the business plan is that we intend to have this engagement with police oversight and community services on the impact of crime, so dealing with extortion. So the tentative date is the 22nd of April. And I hope we can still secure that date, which I doubt, because I think aren't we on?
It has been set aside for.
Has it been set aside? Okay, thank you. So that will be the one item on the agenda. Then the second item that will be on the 6th of May is the SALGA, engagement with SALGA, and looking at the small town regeneration program by providing a comprehensive overview. So that talks to that rural economy that I've spoken about, and Honorable Constable constantly, remind us about, the Karoo area, that those small towns that are needing our attention. So I think that will really help this committee to ensure that we address that challenge. Then we've got bills that are coming before us, one being the Western Cape Consumer Affairs Amendment Bill pending submission to WCPP, which is tentatively set for the 20th. Is it? We got the date there. Okay. And then we've got oversight visit, Vigral and Amalian State. So I've been getting quite a lot of emails from these people here. Also, complaining about, not being able to use the piece of land somewhere on the farm to do whatever that they need to do. So I think that's very important that we conduct that oversight. The 17th June, we have got a briefing on biosecurity with specific reference to European Union's ban on exportation of red meat from South Africa. So I think that one is still relevant. So I see July is earmarked for the Western Cape Consumer Affairs Amendment Bill, projected to have 2 public hearings. Actual expenditure still need to be looked at. So honorable members, then August, it will be the deliberation of that particular bill. And then we go to September, where we plan to do oversight in Matsigama, where the Department of Agriculture and what is LORA? Is it a water association? Water User Association, with concerns that were brought by Honorable Brenkes regarding the farmers they're complaining about water scarcity. Yeah. So The other one in September is Department to, after it had concluded its summit, or the summit with municipalities, brief it on current status of land use management. That also includes the preservation and development of agricultural land bill that I recall. And then obviously then October month is the start of, again, annual reports. So honorable members, those are the programs, or those are the areas that we will be conducting oversight on. So I just want to give honorable members, opportunity really to engage on the business plan so that, we can adopt this business plan going forward. But considering that, what are emerging issues, which we will be visiting pretty soon, as far as I'm concerned, we have secured a date of the 18th of March with them. So we will be visiting the ports. And then we've got the 28th of March, which we'll be looking at vote. Which vote is the
11.
Vote 11. And then the 1st of April, we'll be looking at vote 12. And honorable members, sorry. Yeah, 1st May, sorry. No, sorry, 1st of April. Yeah, 1st of April. After obviously this has been postponed due to budget obviously challenges. So the 8th to the 17th of April, it will be constituency period. Yeah. So honorable members, over to you. Brinkes, followed by Honorable Bryant, followed by Honorable Bombo and Honorable Ngondo. In that order.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chairperson, in the last term, we did oversight at I think it was the Finance Committee. We did the oversight at the Winelands Airport that is currently being built in the Durbanville area. So I think that is also going to be a major role in terms of imports and exports for the country and for the Western Cape. So I would suggest that we do another oversight there. I think, if I recall correctly, that project will be, that airport will be up and running in 2027 or 2028. So if we could possibly have another oversight there at that airport, it will be very good for us, just to keep us, in the loop of what is happening there and how far they are progressing. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Bryant.
Thanks, Chair. I just want to first say fully support your document. Very well put together, very concise. You're planning ahead. You're really planning into 2026, which is great. Chair, just one thing that has been on my mind for a while, and I've been meaning to raise it. I know we do spend a lot of time in Stellenbosch or discussing issues when it comes to Stellenbosch and wine farming and viticulture in Stellenbosch, but we also have a very significant wine region very close to us here in Cape Town, which is the Constantia wine region, with the oldest wine farm in the country, Constantia, and obviously a lot of tourism potential linked to that. And I think it might be worthwhile considering, it's not a difficult one for us to endeavor to do, where we could just pop everybody into a combi after one of our sittings or before, and go visit a couple of those farms and hear from the farmers there what some of their concerns are and challenges. So just putting it out there as something to potentially include. It's not urgent, but worthwhile considering. Thanks.
Yeah, just I haven't noted it, and my apologies. I will still give you a chance, colleagues. So one of the areas that I think, honorable members, we need to consider is visiting these commodity groups or sectors. I've seen the Minister of Transport obviously have got a responsibility of the port visiting the fruit industry, the hot grow, the other day. And we, as members of this portfolio committee, haven't been. So I think it's going to be crucial that we prioritize, the sectors that, have got organized, call it structure, so that we can really engage and start to understand what their challenges are, and where, members of this committee can really assist, in terms of raising their issues with relevant executive. Honorable Constable.
Yeah, thank you very much. Indeed, I'm impressed that you even have the dates of the of 2026 during the time that we're still going to have a SOPA. We'll have a SOPA and the SONA and the LGE, the elections. You even have that. So it's impressive. However, I do understand that you are just putting these not necessarily as being rubber stamp, specifically on the visits, because whilst you may be catering specifically for this committee, most of the members of this committee, they are also in other committees. So we don't want a situation where we'll find that we are all now in the agriculture, in the economy, and then we end up not doing other committees. Plus, also, it might be that where some of them, it might be a cluster visit, although you did put cluster visits somewhere in Feb, I think I can't remember where. So that I thought, or probably maybe, so you already know that maybe the SOPA will be in Garden Route or something. I don't know. But as long as that, so NB, whilst we also have put in terms of the monies, the accommodation, please don't book, because we don't want to be pressurized in terms of that you agreed, now we must pay back the money when things are not yet as finalized. And then probably lastly, it's about the what is advantageous for this sector. It's about you don't have to do many of the surprise visits. When you want to get there, you want them to find them with their pants down. Unlike with other sectors, it's about where you could just go. It's safe, like something might just happen and then you have to go so that you can see what happens when they are not prepared. Because in this one, you want information. So it's no use to say that I'm going to go to this farm, I want to see, and then you ended up not having anyone where you could be able to provide the information. So it's one of the benefits. But now, having said that, I'm proposing, Chair, for instead of asking for airport company to come, because the whole issue is about the 80, what is ATNS, which is, it's an agent. So it is I think it's a 3C, it's a 3C or 3D, it's an agent. So therefore, rather than asking for the overall company, which is responsible for the other things as well, let's now take this animal in pieces. So rather, let's call the agent specifically on the issues of the lightning. Like I was in George, I flew from George this weekend, and we're all crossing our fingers. Can you imagine when it was raining in George and the weather, everyone, it was full. There were still even people there who are look like tourists. Like that will cross your fingers during the day. That I wonder if now my flight is going to be able to land from Joburg, so that I could be able to go. And if not, it means that I'll miss my next flight international. So the whole issue is about, so probably whilst we don't dismiss the letter already written to the airport company, but now let's just target the agent, because I saw somewhere where actually the agent was called many times, was diving, duck and diving. Can't remember the article. There's a whole big issue related to the CEO. Oh, the CEO was accused of sexual harassment. Yeah. And then there were all other issues. So I'm not saying that he must come for that part, but specifically as an agent to answer about, because it's not only these two in Cape Town. We might be probably assisting even the others in Mthatha, the others in East London, the others in Limpopo. So if you could be able to call the agent, I think it would be much better. And then lastly, Chair, on the radio, is it what to call it? RSG. In the morning, whilst I was driving, someone from the Agri Chamber of Commerce, something like that. So the whole thing was about bragging the improvement in terms of the agriculture and the improvement related to the exports. They say they talk about the beautiful things in terms of like even the issue of the citrus, but they were saying that now the only thing, like I was taken aback to hear that whilst we politicians are still grappling, when do we negotiate with the US about the AGOA? But the actual people, they're already doing the work, because they were saying that now they're just waiting for the confirmation specifically for the avocado, because the avocados, the US, it's potentially a big export, but they are still negotiating. They've been like almost when they're speaking is about, okay, we've done this in Africa and blah, 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 all of those kind of things. So sometimes probably we need to have these, whether I say association, I don't know, these associations, the whether it's a Agri SA or it's the other one that is has been also fighting, and then all of those probably for them to hear from their side, not necessarily to go on the specific farm where we say on that day it's a specifics for this association to share. But in the whole of the RSG, when I was hearing, it was all about the brag, about the improvement in terms of the exports and everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mbombo. With regards to ATNS, yeah, we did, through the advice of the CEO of Westgro, she did indicate that we must write to ATNS CEO. We have written to her, Ms. Nosipo Mdawe. So we did write to her. She did respond speedily to consider the invitation. So we're waiting confirmation. We stipulated that we would want them to appear before us before the end of April. Yeah, before the 30th of April, because we take it serious that ATNS must be addressed. On the issue of Agri Association invitation, colleagues, we have thought about it, and the easiest way of really engaging this industry thoroughly is that the committee might really consider, having a full day where we invite the agricultural industry to come and engage us here. Alternatively, we can have a full day. The industry, Agricultural Industry Association, they are here, they are in PAL. So you've got your HOTCRO, you've got your SATI, and you've got your VinPro, and you've got also your Agri Western Cape. So they are situated there. So we can maybe, spend a day, full day in terms of visitation there, doing our oversight and engaging them in their place where they can take us through what they do. Alternatively, we can invite them here. So we leave it to the colleagues in terms of how we're going to execute that. But we must be mindful that we are not really agricultural. We've got other sectors that are obviously involved in economic development in the province. But thank you for your input. Noted. Thank you very much.
Sorry, Chair, if I forgot, I wanted to ask the international study tour, because I don't see it here. I'm not sure exactly what's going on.
Yeah, the honorable on my right on the hot seat. She's the one sitting with all the nice information. She will be engaging us soon regarding, her research that she has conducted together with her colleagues. She doesn't like the hot seat. But we've got the research work has been done. So was it shared with all the members? Yes, it was shared with all the members, but I think she will just probably, will allow her opportunity to just brief us as such. Thanks, Honorable Mbombo. Honorable Sesiwarona, Nomi Ngondlo, over to you.
Ngosi Chairperson, thank you for the report and the two documents. I think maybe, Chair, starting from exactly what you just raised, we are a bit of an expanded standing committee in terms of the functions. And I think part of what we would need to infuse in our tracking is actually trying to see the extent to which we are able to cover the work of the different elements of the standing committee, so that we don't fall into a trap of, more dealing with either agriculture versus, tourism versus the other. So maybe I think through the committee coordinator, we would need to try, to balance that when we do our tracking document, so that we can either specify, particular issues tracked under agriculture, under economic development, under the other, so that it helps us to really just pick up when that temptation comes in. I also just want to comment, Chair, in the tracking document, that if we look at it as it stands now, we are sitting with 17 completed versus 24 that is in progress. So if we look at that, I think we would have to, and I saw what is put together in the document, that some of the issues that are in progress are actually, covered in the business plan in terms of some of what are the proposals. But I think what we need to do is to actually compare whether the 24 are all covered there, because they're not necessarily covered there, because then it talks about the timing, the time availability of the committee in terms of responding to those particular issues and resolutions that we take. And I must say, Chair, in as far as those issues are concerned, for me, I would also, I think, like us not to miss the issues of food security, which are amongst the biggest challenges that we are facing. And yes, they've got an agricultural element, but also a broad economic development, because it's a growth issue for ensuring that households are able, to sort of access or be food secure. And I think also we've got a responsibility as this committee to help the executive from our part in terms of oversight on the G4J, because the G4J is a strategy of this particular province that is intended to create a trillion rand economy, which will then, as a promise, resolve some of the challenges that we're talking about. So I think somehow we need to find a way through which we are able, year in and year out, do a clear oversight on the G4J, especially the targets that are set, because we need to know what are the targets of the departments that we oversight, that is the Department of Agriculture, what are the targets set for them, the Department of Economic Development, so that we know we can be able, when we do our oversight work, are able to follow those things through. Because I do not want a situation where, in hindsight, we look after 5 years, where the G4J, we promise people so many jobs and were unable, as if we are shocked as members of parliament, whilst we have been here through the interactions, we are supposed to be attending to that. And that work actually links us to the Department of Infrastructure one way or the other, because our growth is projected or is premised on an infrastructure growth. So it's important that we must have some of those conversations, to a point that I think what is suggested in the tracking document on the, I think it's an in progress resolution on the 20th of August. The committee resolved that we need to invite Westcro, and I think the Economic Development Department, I think we would need to include there an invite to be extended to local government and the Department of Infrastructure. Because if we talk about the interface of some of the things we speak about, surely the Department of Local Government, especially those that are responsible for local economic development, needs also to be on the same page with us on what we're talking about, in terms of growth prospects in the municipalities. So I think, Chair, for me, I think those are issues that one would like to sort of raise, to say, I think the biggest issue for me is to sort of look at those kind of interface or interconnection between the various departments that have got an impetus on the work that we do. And maybe something that we may have to look at, and I see in the business plan, it is raised, I think on the last pages, Chair, I think on the issue of legislation, yes, there is legislative work. I think that is already there, but maybe perhaps not now. Maybe it's something through the members will have to look at, is actually, any new legislation, whether it emanates from ourselves or it emanates from the departments, because it's actually easier to track that in a year program so that we know what we have to deal with. And actually, in the midst of the work that we are doing, where are the gaps? Because during these oversights that we do, sometimes, and I fully support the engagement with the agri industry, and I'm hoping that emerging Black farmers through the AFASAs of the world also will be included in those engagements. But there's always a challenge of, legislative gaps that are there, which I think we would need to alter, not alter per se, would need to consider, in as far as that is as that work is concerned, because it's very interesting, I think, as my last comment, that whilst we are lawmakers, at most in the Westminster system, legislation is always initiated by the executive, the very executive that is supposed to be oversighted by ourselves. So it's very tricky in terms of separation of powers, and it's something that we need to look at, because when we get feedback from the public, be it businesses, it is our responsibility beyond waiting for the actual departments to initiate legislation, because we are lawmakers for that reason, to actually start initiating legislation that must enable a conducive environment for the different parties or social partners. So I think it's something that I would be interested in, especially when we engage with the industry around the issues of AGOA, and the others in general. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Ngondlo. Is Honorable Vessel taken care of?
No hand.
No hand. Honorable Constable, are you covered?
Yeah, I'm totally covered. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I think one of the things that, just in response to your call, Honorable Ngondlo, one of the things that I thought is very important to have on the business plan is also maybe to include the ministerial priorities, so that when we really focus on the business plan, but we are able to look at what are the ministerial priorities. Are we really, in the things that we are doing, are we talking to the ministerial priorities that the minister has set himself? Sorry?
Sorry, Chair, do you mean the provincial minister?
The provincial minister, yeah. So I attended an event last night of MADE in Cape Town. And I thought, when I left there, I was kind of blown away. But I thought it would be really very important for members to be invited. I haven't really touched base with the CEO, but I'll be touching base with it to really consider inviting the members. For me, was an important oversight to just get the grasp of the work that Westgrow is doing, because it's really an important oversight that we can see for ourselves when we approve a budget here, what that budget really does out there. So I thought it was really very important. So I think to your point around the food security, Honorable Ngondlo, I think it's a very, very important matter. I always find a very delicate balance between addressing food security and addressing the challenges of the farmers, because your farmers really need our help, both at legislative level and obviously market access, and obviously other issues that pertain to their, biosecurity as such. So now, your food security is an element that, you need to create a very broad food system that really respond to when food is being produced and how do you distribute it? How do you really make sure that everybody has got access to food? And I think that's an issue that encompasses, municipalities, your Department of Education, your department, your higher education as well, in terms of really crafting, finding a way of ensuring that food gets to the people. Farmers don't have a problem in producing, lots of food. They can produce a lot, but to get those food into the marketplace to the people become a little bit difficult, because if it's 3rd grade or 4th grade, they don't take it to the market. They dump it on the farm because it's too costly to take it to the market, because the cost of transporting the food from where they are to the people is too expensive. But if you've got a food system that can really absorb this kind of food security challenges, then you solve many other issues. So I think that's, the other time we were talking about, bone-in chicken, vet-free and all those kind of stuff. The question is, where's the farmer, in the whole picture? Because the farmer at the end of the day is a price taker. It's not really a guy that really dictates the price. The market is dictating the price. At the end of the day, he's not able to farm because, the fees that he's getting from, it's a topic for another day, which we can really debate it quite long. So I think, honorable members, the inputs given, I think, are quite solid. I have noted, obviously, that we definitely need to consider going to the Winelands Airport to really encourage them, obviously, the work they are doing, but also to see for ourselves in terms of the progress that have been made at the airport. Constantia is a big wine region. Let's just be honest. We definitely need to consider a tour, but we will be guided by the industry. So I think when we meet with the industry, we can really definitely engage them with regards to how can we do a guided tour to just give us a historical background of, the wine region in the Constantia. So with regards to ATNS, I did touch that we have obviously, communicated already. The Agri Association, in my view, if members, agree with us, we will definitely try and prioritize this and move it a little bit higher so that, we've got the industry, presentation, even if it means, at their place of operation rather than being here. We do a physical oversight at their place. That will really enlighten us and help us to really get their work understanding better. Yeah, I think very important is balancing the two portfolios, because at times we definitely need to expose ourselves to our township economy to understand when James Ford says, I've got 10 priorities, some of the priorities are towards the informal, business that she is supporting in the township and so forth, how that really is shaping up in those townships. So I think it's very, very important. But also we've got logistical sector, we've got, freight sector, we've got all kinds of sectors that we definitely need to find a way to also get to them, not only agriculture. Yeah, we touch on G4J in terms of ministerial priorities. So the idea is to just make sure that we've got the ministerial priorities in our business plan, so that when we talk to the business plan, we have in mind in terms of the ministerial priorities, which obviously should filter into programs that the minister has set himself to look at. I hope I've covered everything, honorable members. Is there anything that maybe I might have left out? Okay, so the honorable member on procedure has given me some important orders. So, honorable members, we need to adopt the tracking document. So can I have a proposer? But before I have a proposer, thank you, Honorable Ngondlo, for indicating the indicators that are completed and the ones that are not completed. Can you confirm, is she correct? What was the number, 24?
17 versus 24.
24, 17, is it correct? Okay. So if it is correct, honorable members, are you happy to adopt the tracking document? Going once, going twice. Honorable Bryant is proposing the adoption. Seconder? Honorable Ngondo, thank you. Any other documents that we need to look? Member Bryant, thank you.
Thanks, Chair. It's not a document, but I just think before we close the official part of the meeting and do our resolutions, you suggested you were going to allow the researcher to give us a little bit of update on the study tour. Are we still going to do that now, or are you going to save that for the next meeting?
I would check with her because she said her CV is too long, so she has to do a CV first, before she starts. Are you ready to do it now, or should we set another date? Okay.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you, members. So I say it's brief, mainly because we are but one step in the process for, I guess, WCP's process for international study visits. And basically with our process, we are merely in charge of the research that is the accompanying document for what, I guess, the motivation that would be put forward to the speaker, etc. So, and what would then come as a feedback or request from the committee is that what focus areas or what areas of priority is the committee looking at, and therefore what countries can we therefore look at in relation to that. So that was a request that came from the committee, and specifically it was for us as the research unit to provide a report that would give the committee options or countries or regions or cities that have developed and implemented legislation, strategies or policies, or some kinds of funding mechanisms to stimulate and support sustainable rural economic development. And more specifically, the request was for us to look at case studies that would focus on a more holistic support that is provided to emerging or to what is called smallholder farmers versus commercial farmers in these various regions or countries. And that also included local businesses as well. And upon discussions, that it came out that when we say, or when the committee says local businesses, this is inclusive of other sectors within the rural economy in whatever region or country that we're looking at. So that was a request that came to us. And like I said, we basically provide then, or our responsibility is to provide a research report that provides a supporting, or that is a supporting document that then goes as part of the committee's motivation to the speaker regarding these international trips. So in terms of progress, I think the PO would be well positioned or better suited to respond to where it is in the process, but I will just provide a very brief update in terms of the report, which I also sent to the members last week. So in terms of detail, if you want to read a bit more on that, you will find it in emails together with our wonderful feedback request. So it's always good for us to just get a bit of an understanding if what we provide is according to, the request, and is it sufficient? Did it provide enough detail, or was it too detailed, too comprehensive? And going forward, we kind of have an understanding of what is required, especially from your specific committee, because requests are different from committee to committee. So with this report, it was basically an overview of various agricultural interventions or projects that have an element of donor funding that we found, and our case studies included, as we had mentioned earlier, Bolivia, Vietnam, and Chile. And basically the reason for the for choosing these case studies essentially was because as I said, there is a big element of donor funding when it comes to the rural rural economic development, and then more specifically, the rural economic development is focused on the agricultural sector, much like many countries globally. It's one of the pivotal sectors for economic growth and also for employment. It's the driving sector for employment creation, and so it remains a pivotal area around rural economic development. And so a lot of the policies and a lot of the legislation as well is very much focused around the agricultural rural aspect, not necessarily as holistic as one would think in terms of where things are moving in the modern world, in terms of having holistic, more social and inclusive of more, I guess, the agri-processing aspects of particularly the agricultural sector. So hence the selection. And as well, we also have bilateral agreements with these 3 countries. So then it's up to, as the committee knows, up to the committee to have a look at this detail and the information provided to see whether these programs or these projects essentially speak to them and within the provincial context and more broadly the South African context. So yeah, that is basically what we have done thus far. Like I said, the detail in terms of the kinds of projects and, the technicalities, what kind of technical assistance was provided to each of these beneficiaries in each of these countries. It's in the report. It's quite comprehensive. And I would then just urge the committee to have a look in terms of where it would be suited for them to focus based off on the provincial priorities and the key areas, whether it's the ministerial priorities, the provincial strategic plan that's going to be coming out, as well as G4J. So what in conjunction would be most appropriate based on the details in the report. Yeah. I don't know if there are any questions or anything like that. Yeah. Yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I see the 3 suggestions, Bolivia, Chile, and Vietnam. What about the US? Over the last couple of terms, that these committees has gone to the US, and the trade relationship between the Western Cape and the US is quite substantial. And have you found any in your research points that would make it appropriate for the committee to take another follow-up to the US and to strengthen those previous efforts that has been made by the committees over the last couple of terms, just to bolster and to strengthen that relationships with the US?
Just before you answer, my question maybe is regarding this presentation. Is there a way that maybe you can customize it and put it on a PowerPoint and just take us through at some point, in terms of how you work through to come to these decisions? Did you want to raise a hand, Honorable Ngondlo? No. Okay.
Great. Thank you, Chairperson. To Member Brinke's question, initially it wasn't necessarily a look at regions or areas that we've been to. So in terms of our prelim research, it was what came up. What came up when the question was around rural economic development, specifically emerging farmers, and then a key aspect of our prelim selection was around what successful programs or interventions. So the intervention had, by virtue of its outcomes evaluation or impact evaluation, have an element of success, so that we could then say, oh, this is something that could be presented to the committee because of A, B, and C in terms of success or outcomes, or positive outcomes from the perspective of a broader rural economic development. So that was what our selection was based. Not to say that there aren't any, or whether the programs or areas of focus that were part of the prior visits to the US, there aren't any successes or positive outcomes. That is possibly, I guess, something that we could look at if that was the requirement of the committee, to say if we wanted to have a continuation or like a continued focus or continued look at what we have done, where we have been, where are they at now, what has been the outcome to date, then I guess that would be a different study altogether or a different report altogether. Yeah.
Thank you, Awongiwe. Honorable members, we must just to remind you all that when we sat here, our issue has always been that the rural economy is a challenge for us and it's a time bomb. And we definitely need to do something because our rural economy cannot depend on grants totally. And the reason why we have made this request, it was based on the discussions that we have had in the committee to say we need to find areas where really they have worked the rural economy in such a way that, it's able to really sustain itself. It could be through agriculture, it could be SMME that exist in those rural economy. That's the request that we made to researchers to assist us, and hence we are getting this report. But however, if honorable members feel that, there are some elements from the previous term that we need to really continue with them from, a perspective of really tying up and strengthening the relationship that will ultimately, give us the results that we want, over to you members to make a call. But the initial request was obviously looking at the challenges that the rural economy is facing. Honorable Constable is very vocal about, the central Karoo, but it's not only the central Karoo, it's your township, your Kailicha, and your other areas that are not really able to fund themselves. It's a question of how do we really get these economies, working. If we can find models that really are able to really sustain our municipalities and be able to really carry their own infrastructure, that will be great. Even if it goes 50-50 at the moment, is some are going to 30-60, 30-70 or 40-60. We just had when we were in Beaufort West that municipality is struggling, to raise its own finances. Honorable members, I see the hand of Honorable Ngodlo.
Let's give the research unit, because they said they are in the first stage. That's what I thought she was saying. But I would really beg for us to keep to the scope, the initial or original scope, so that because once, from a research point of view, once we start adding new questions, also the actual research is going to divert to another level and would never finish. So at least it's best when we start with what we had originally, as our problem statement, so that from that problem statement we're not necessarily going to get a country that is exactly like South Africa, because that's not the intention, and we're not going to find that. What we're interested in is to deal with our own conditions and find anything that is similar, especially now with the instability in the globe. I think this becomes important of self-sustenance, and so for me, I think I would say, if there was any in the countries that you are looking at, and US is part of those, I think as long as it still stick within the realms of the original scope, without necessarily saying let's go back there, because the truth of the matter is that the very Committee on Agriculture may have gone to the US, may have gone to any other countries, So I think if there's a relationship in terms of the scope of the project, I think we can still consider Malumu Braton, as country. But I'm just saying, I don't want us to divert now and want to change the scope. Let's try to stick to the scope. The question I wanted to ask, actually, Chair, is that initially I remember Prof. advised us at the time that if we consider the timelines and everything else, and the fact that 2026 is a local government year, I'm not sure with what we are still waiting for. Will the study tour still happen within this financial year, Are we considering the new financial year coming in April, in terms of the funds? I think that's important for me from a budgetary point of view, because you were already mentioning even now that from a budget point of view, we may be, not necessarily looking as good as we would want. So I just want to understand from a planning, because we know we are politicians. Once the dates of local government elections are given, we know we may want to do the study tour, but we report to parties that our time of being here is actually dictated to by those political parties. So I think the calendar year or the period of the study is going to be important, or we'll end up not doing it.
Thank you, Honorable Mbombo. Over to Shireen.
You said Mbombo.
Correction, Honorable Ngonzo.
Member Nkondlo, I actually don't have an answer for you because that's up to the speaker to decide. But I think last year, you will remember that I said our international study policy stipulates a date of 30 November, where committees who intend to travel in the next financial year. So 30 November last year for travel from 1st April this year had to be submitted to the speaker for consideration. So what we did was on the 20th of November last year, the chairperson submitted the intent to travel to the speaker. So the letter of this committee's intention to travel in the 2025-26 financial year was submitted, but at that stage, we did not have the research brief yet. So the letter stipulated that the brief would be completed in the first week of March and then submitted to the speaker. So we don't have an answer in terms of whether the study tour would happen. If it's going to only happen in the year after the local government elections, we're still waiting for a response. So I'm not able to say yay or nay in respect of whether it would be approved. Thank you.
Maybe Abongiwe has got the answer.
No, I don't think so, Chair. I don't think so.
Honorable members and officials, this brings us to the end of our very, very short meeting. Thank you very much. So what we'll do, we'll use your inputs that you've given us. Myself and Shireen will work the program, and we'll send you the revised business plan that really talks to the issues that you have really highlighted here quite clearly. Thank you very much. Have a lovely afternoon. So we managed to do it within an hour.
Meeting adjourned?
Meeting adjourned.
Yeah, because I suppose all our resolutions are already done. So
yeah.
Just did it, yeah.
No. Honorable Vessel? He says to me, is it from the golfing?